Nation is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to its life, we affirm our lives within it. Number 352, Find a Stillness.
So good morning. Welcome to the last Sunday in the year 2025. And I always like to do a little exercise for those of you that have been here for a while. This is not going to be new to you, but a few years ago, I came across a book called 1 Year to Live. And I think it was Mark Levin, but I can't remember if Mark Levin's the radio talk show host or maybe it's Levin, either Stephen Levin or Mark Levin. One's a talk show host, one's not. Anyways, 1 Year to Live. And I love the concept because the idea is he invited us to take some time and think to ourselves, if you had 1 year to live, and you knew that you had 1 year to live, what, if anything, would you change? And I want us to take just a minute to think about this. So, if you had 1 year to live, what, if anything, would you change right now? Would you change how you're interacting with family? Would you choose to see more of certain family members, or might you choose to see less of certain family members? What about your friends? Would you spend more time with your friends? Would you nurture those relationships? Would you let go of some friendships that may be draining your energy? If you knew that you only had 1 year to live, what would you do about your job? Would it be worth it to keep the job? Would you decide that you had enough that you needed and you would quit that job and you would move away to a different country? Would you stay in your job because you love it and it's where you find fulfillment and you want to do it more? Who are the people you would choose to spend more time with? And are there some people that you would choose to stop giving energy to altogether and immediately? I think those are always good questions. It's a good reflection for us to think about because none of us know how much time we have. We might have a year, we might have a day, we might have 10 years, we might have 30 or 40 more years, but we don't know. And so then the second question that he talks about it in the book is, so we look at our life if we had 1 year, but what if, and this is what is called the not yet question. What if, imagine yourself walking out of this sanctuary this morning, and you walk out and there is a bus coming right at you. And in that minute, between those few seconds between the bus and the impact, what would you think to yourself? If you were thinking, not yet, what is the not yet in your life? And some of us, if we've been intentional and we've been living our lives the way that we want to live our lives for years or decades or even just recently, there might be some of us in this room that when you think about that question, the answer for yourself is, wow, I don't have a not yet. I would be okay if I wasn't here in the next minute. And that's okay too. But I occasionally over the years that I ask myself on a regular basis those two questions. If I had a year to live, what might I change? And if I was walking out and this was going to be my last instant, do I have a not yet? And that can change as we go through phases of life, right? If we're younger, we might say, not yet. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to spend more time with my friends. And as we get a little bit older, we might have different not yets, right? We might have said, thank God I got to raise my children, or thank God I got to have a career. But now I haven't traveled the way that I want to travel. I haven't, met my grandchildren. So we all might always have the not yet. But we also, at any stage of our life, might be able to say, it's okay. And so that's my invitation for us, for me at least this week, is I'm gonna spend some time before this new year as we close out 2025 thinking about if I had 1 year to live and what would be my not yet. And if I've asked you these questions, if you've been here when I've asked you these questions in the past, because I have, my invitation for you then is to think about the answer that you gave yourself last year or a few years ago with the answer you might be giving yourself today. Are some of them the same? Are some of those answers different? Are some of the not yets no longer the not yet because you did this before and you did what was the not yet before? It's something nice to reflect on for our own lives. And so as we as we move through this thing called life and the cycles of the years, we have that individual, internal expression of who we are in our individual lives. And yet we also live as a community. And so, this year as a community, as a nation, there are some things that maybe we as Americans might want to think about, who we are as world citizens that we might want to think about, and maybe, ask those same questions. If this nation had a year to live, what might we change? What might we give our energy to? What might we not give our energy to? One of the people that I like to listen to, kind of a spiritual mentor person, is a person named Lee Harris, and he's kind of an intuitive, and he kind of takes the pulse of the energy that's going on. And I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and he used the phrase, and I really like this phrase, he used the phrase vibrational deselection. So I'm gonna let us think about that. Vibrational deselection. And this is kind of, I'm getting a little metaphysical on you right now, but if we're all energy beings and we resonate with one another, we resonate with different things in our lives as we move through change and beginnings and endings, might there just be some vibrations, lower vibrations, that in our own lives that we say, okay, you know what, I may have been kind of resonating down here, over here for a while, or for a few years, or for a decade, or for a few decades, but I don't want to be there anymore. I don't resonate with that anymore. I want to let that go. I want to think about maybe raising my vibration from sadness and despair and anger. Maybe I want to raise it up a little bit to some joy and some love and some laughter. And I am no longer going to vibrate in areas that I used to resonate with. And it's just something to think about. Vibrational deselection. And I think as a country, we can think about who it is, how we want to be, who we want our leaders to be, who we want our leaders to be vibrating with. And there is one of the people I study with, a man named Dimitri Moriades. He was giving a lesson, and he said, suffering comes when our soul is refusing the truth of life and is holding on to those attachments for dear life, even if it means its own death or the death of the physical. So I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to let us kind of listen to that. Suffering comes when our soul, not necessarily our personality, but that part of us that is eternal, when our soul is refusing the truth of life, refusing the truth of life, and is holding on to those attachments for dear life, even if it means our own death or the death of the physical. And that's what I've been thinking about this year, is what is it in our own lives or our collective life, what are some of the truths that we haven't been wanting to see, that we haven't been acknowledging, that we've been wanting to, on either an individual or a collective level, been wanting to escape from. And the problem is that if we are escaping from the reality around us, if we are escaping from the truth around us, that doesn't mean that it's not there. It means that we're not acknowledging it. It means that we're not addressing it. It means that we're not moving forward to heal it. And I think, if anything, the year 2025, at least it has tried to put some real truth right in front of us. And I think, at least for me, and I think a lot of us here in the United States have tried really, really hard to not see it or to not address it. And even those of us that do see what's happening, there is a kind of a darkness that I think has been in this country for many, many years, almost from its inception, when we brought in slaves and justified to ourselves that that was okay. And we witnessed, or we turned away from the suffering of other human beings in our lives, individually and collectively, and we told ourselves that was okay. And we've been doing that year after year, decade after decade, until we get to what we have in the year 2025. And so I think my invitation for us as we close out this year so that next week we can embrace a new year, I think it's time for us to be willing to take a look at what is almost too painful to see, to take a look at what is almost too dark to want to acknowledge. Because if we all keep turning away from what is right in front of us, all we get is more delusional thinking, more deceit, and more darkness. And so I do this morning, as we're closing out this year, I want to address the Epstein files just a little bit. I haven't looked at a whole lot of them, but there is some darkness there that I'm not even going to name from this pulpit because it is so disturbing. It's disturbing on a soul level. And I don't use the term evil very often, if ever. We're in a Unitarian church. But some of what is in those files, I will say, some of what these men and some women who are helping it have engaged in is evil. The cover-up and the protection of these men is evil. And so as we take and close out this year, I want to invite us to be willing maybe to take a look at what we haven't been being able to see. I use the analogy of if you want a really clean house, but you've just shoved everything into your closet, and you know that this closet is here, but you know that if you open it, everything's going to come tumbling out. You keep the closet closed, you don't open it because you're not quite ready to deal with what's inside of it. But you always know that that closet is there, and you're not going to actually have a clean, organized home if you don't ever open that door and take it out. And so I actually have one of those closets. And I know that what I'm saying today, it can be kind of heavy because it's like, okay, Wendy, but how do we do this? How we understand what's going on? We see the darkness, we see the evil, but we're just individual people. We are just people that are loving, caring individuals. We don't have the power. How do we make that change? And so what I will say, and this is kind of a spiritual principle again, so hopefully it'll make sense, right? In an intellectual level, we individually can't clean everything up. But if we, as Lee Harris says, vibrate, whatever I said earlier, deselect our vibration, we raise our vibration. The way that we do that is that we take the time to think about our own closet. What is in my own closet that I need to open up, I need to either throw away or put away or give away, and maybe take to the trash or the dumpster or the landfill. If we energetically begin to do that in our own lives, in our own way, we begin to raise our individual vibrations individually, which then becomes a vibrational shift collectively, and then we are no longer resonating with this really dark, low, dense energy. And that's when I think we begin to, pardon my words, but take the trash out and heal as a nation. And so that is going to be, that's my invitation. It works on an individual cellular level too, right? A healthy organism consists of millions and millions and billions of healthy cells. And if we have a tumor in our body, the way we get rid of the tumor is we remove the tumor, and then we create health in the system so that the other unhealthy cells have nothing, so that they starve to death in essence, and they are surrounded by other healthy organisms. So we do that ourselves in our own lives, in our own bodies. We create the first healthy cell and we feed it, and it generates other healthy cells, and then we have a healthy organ. And then we have a healthy organism, and then we begin to have a healthy system. And I think that's how we do it. I think that's what we need to do. Individually, we can't change what's going on, but collectively, we can become healthier. We can be part of a healthy system. And then everything becomes healthier. That is what I think we can do for 26. And I am excited about it. I feel optimistic about 2026. I do. But we also have some closets that we maybe need to clear out. And then I'm just gonna name that the way that unhealthy systems thrive is through a lot of help. And so I'm going to invite us to think about, are we inadvertently in our own lives in some ways helping to enable this kind of dark, unhealthy system? For example, if you're an FBI agent and you're wanting to do what's good, but you've been told to scrub the files for the last 6 months, you're part of the system that's covering things up. You may find it repulsive, but if you're doing that because it's your job and you're getting paid and you have to keep your paycheck, but you're still part of that system that's covering it up. If you're a lawyer and you went to law school because you care about the rule of law, and the law firm that you're in happens to just be one that's helping writing legal briefs to protect people in the Department of Justice or wherever, the problem is your work, your time, your effort is being used as part of the system that is unhealthy. I understand we need the jobs. If you're a minister and you're in a mega church and you really love the Bible and the teachings of the Bible, but you are scared to name some of what is not quite right because you have a congregation that will get mad at you and you'll lose your job, you're part of the system. And so I am not pointing fingers out there to those people. I'm asking each and every one of us to take a deeper look. How are we, as very good, kind, loving individuals who believe in the inherent worth and dignity and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, what are we doing in our own lives that may inadvertently be enabling a system that is causing fear and harm and terror to the people around us? I don't have all the answers, but my invitation for us is to stop looking away in our own lives, to stop just trying to escape through TikTok videos or scrolling on Facebook or in whatever way we try to escape, and maybe do some real inner dialogue with what part of the system am I inadvertently enabling. And it's not easy, but I think it's time. I think it's time to let go of some of this, to release some of this darkness of 2025 so that we can move into the light of 2026. But we have some clearing out to do that goes centuries old. So I'm gonna leave it there for now. I hope that this is making sense. I hope I'm not depressing anybody. But we have some work to do. But cleaning up and getting healthy and creating healthy, vibrant cells and then a healthy, vibrant network of cells can be really fun and really joyful. And that's my invitation for us to clear out what we need to clear out now, so that we can embrace that light and that love and that health in 2026. And that's what we will be talking about next week. So with that, why don't we sing? And I don't know what we're singing. Can somebody tell me what we're singing? 168. 168, one more step. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. Amen. And if you are on Zoom, I will enable you to unmute yourself and join our virtual coffee hour.